Did Pontius Pilate write a report to the Roman Emperor Tiberius, detailing the life, miracles, trial, crucifixion, and resurrection of Jesus? And does this report contain extraordinary details that are not found in the Gospels? What does the famous Pilate stone, discovered at the archaeological site of Caesarea Maritima in 1961, reveal about the historical truth of Jesus' crucifixion? These are some of the questions we will explore today. Let's dive in. A document exists, known as the Acts of Pilate. Initially, it was included in the Acts of Peter and Paul, an apocryphal text believed to have been written in the 1st century. However, the Acts of Pilate itself is said to be a much earlier, original document supposedly authored by Pilate himself. This text was later included in the 4th century apocryphal book, the Gospel of Nicodemus. But the question arises, is this document a factual account? Or was it embellished by early Christians, or perhaps even entirely fabricated? Scholars remain divided on the issue. Some ancient writers argue that Pilate indeed wrote such a report. This makes sense for several reasons. For instance, the report mentions that Herod Antipas was speaking badly of Pilate to Caesar, and Pilate wanted to defend himself before the emperor. This provides a plausible motive for writing a report. And when we consider the possibility of someone fabricating a report, we have to ask, would they really include such an awkward detail? It seems unlikely. In AD 138, the early church father Justin Martyr wrote to Roman Emperor Antoninus Pius and referred to Pilate's report. His reference to the exact words of this report is a key piece of evidence. It shows that by the middle of the 2nd century, the report was well known and had been preserved in the imperial archives in Rome. If Emperor Antoninus Pius had read it, we must assume that the report was accessible within the Roman Empire. Justin Martyr's letter to Caesar contains this passage. And after he was crucified, those who crucified him cast lots for his garments and divided them among themselves to make them more satisfied. This matches the gospel accounts. But what about the claims made by other church fathers? For instance, Tertullian suggests that Emperor Tiberius even tried to have Jesus included in the Roman pantheon of gods based on Pilate's report. Whether this is true or not remains uncertain, as there is no official record of it in Roman archives. Still, this story demonstrates the high regard early Christians had for the Acts of Pilate. What is even more intriguing is that the enemies of Christianity seemed to take this report seriously as well. Pontius Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius serves as an important historical document, shedding light on the events surrounding Jesus Christ's crucifixion. Its significance is further highlighted by the actions of Emperor Maximinus in AD 311. Maximinus orchestrated a counterfeit version of the Acts of Pilate, attempting to discredit Christianity's influence. This manipulation suggests just how powerful the original text was in shaping opinions about Jesus and his crucifixion within the empire. To truly understand the importance of this document, we must analyze it in detail. By delving into Pilate's words and providing thoughtful commentary, we can offer a deeper understanding of this pivotal moment in history. Join us on this journey. Subscribe to our series to ensure you don't miss a single episode as we uncover more details about the Acts of Pilate and its profound historical impact. Now, let's begin by examining the opening lines of Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius. Pontius Pilate to the Emperor Tiberius. Greetings. Recent events in my province have been of such a character that I thought I should report them as they have occurred, for I would not be surprised if, in time, they change the destiny of our nation. It seems lately that the gods have ceased to be propitious. I am almost ready to say, "Cursed be the day that I succeeded Valerius Gratus in the government of Judea." In these opening lines, Pilate is already expressing his frustration. He describes Jerusalem as the most difficult of all conquered cities to govern. So turbulent were its people. Pilate's admission that he lived in constant fear of an insurrection paints a vivid picture of the challenging environment he inherited. But what does this tell us about the historical context? Pilate, a Roman governor, was assigned to a region notorious for unrest. His job was not just to rule, but to keep the peace in a region where even the slightest spark could lead to rebellion. Pilate's words reveal the precariousness of his position, a man caught between the demands of Rome and the volatility of the Jewish people. "I had but a single centurion and a handful of soldiers," Pilate continues. "I requested a reinforcement from the prefect of Syria, who informed me that he had scarcely enough troops to defend his own province. An insatiable thirst for conquest, to extend our empire beyond our means of defending it, I fear, will be the means of destroying our noble empire." These are not the words of a man who feels secure in his authority. Pilate is warning of the dangers of overstretched military resources, of a Roman Empire that, in its hunger for expansion, risks its own collapse. His communication suggests a sense of foreboding about the empire's future, but it also hints at the tension within his own mind as he navigates the delicate task of governing Judea. The image of a lone centurion standing guard over the tense streets of Jerusalem with only a handful of soldiers to maintain order adds a chilling layer of vulnerability to the situation. How could Pilate, with such limited resources, deal with the escalating tensions in Jerusalem? How did this pressure contribute to his eventual decision to condemn Jesus? Pause and reflect on the significance of this passage. Pilate's words to Caesar offer a rare glimpse into the inner workings of Roman governance during one of the most critical moments in history. They provide valuable context for understanding the political and social forces at play during Jesus' trial and crucifixion. As we continue this exploration, we will examine more of Pilate's report and delve into the profound impact it had on both the Roman Empire and the early Christian community. Stay with us as we uncover the layers of history behind the acts of Pilate and the enduring legacy of the man who sentenced Jesus to death. The inadequacy of military resources to maintain order in Jerusalem is a key concern. Despite the city's potential for unrest, Pontius Pilate had only a single centurion and a handful of soldiers at his disposal. This shortage of troops underscores the precariousness of Roman control in the region, highlighting the significant challenges in quelling potential uprisings. The document also alludes to the broader context of imperial overextension. Pilate expresses his concern about the empire's unsustainable expansion beyond its capacity to defend its territories. This situation hints at the strain on Roman resources and the potential consequences for the stability of the empire. Pilate's apprehensions about overextension and the inadequacy of military resources foreshadow the events that unfold later in the narrative. These concerns likely influenced Pilate's decision-making process, particularly regarding his handling of Jesus' trial and crucifixion. As we dive deeper into the document, we will uncover how this shortage of troops played a pivotal role in Pilate's ultimate decision to order Jesus' crucifixion. Now, let's turn back to Pilate's own words. Among the various rumors that reached me, one in particular caught my attention. It was said that a young man had appeared in Galilee, preaching with noble authority a new law in the name of the gods who had sent him. At first, I was apprehensive about his intentions. Perhaps he sought to stir the people against Rome. But soon, my fears were dispelled. Jesus of Nazareth spoke more as a friend of the Romans than as an enemy of the Jews. Pilate continues. One day, as I passed by the place of Silo, where a great crowd had gathered, I noticed a young man standing calmly among them, leaning against a tree and addressing the multitude. I was told it was Jesus. I could tell immediately by the striking contrast between him and those around him. His golden-colored hair and beard gave him a celestial appearance, and he appeared to be about 30 years of age. Never before had I seen such a sweet and serene countenance. What a contrast he was to the people around him. Most had dark beards and complexions. This description of Jesus is particularly interesting, as it may be the only recorded explanation of his appearance in historical documents. The mention of Jesus having blonde hair and a beard raises questions about its authenticity. Could this detail be an addition made by later scribes who copied the document? Or did Jesus indeed have lighter-colored hair and a beard compared to his contemporaries? It's an intriguing thought, but ultimately, we can't be sure. My guess is that it may have been an addition made over time. Pilate, unwilling to interrupt Jesus, continued his walk, but instructed his secretary, Menalus, to join the crowd and listen to what the young man was saying. Menalus, the grandson of the chief conspirator, who had once camped at Atia with Catalina, was an ancient inhabitant of Judea. He was well versed in the Hebrew language and was completely devoted to Pilate. Menalus was someone Pilate trusted deeply. Upon entering the praetorium, Pilate found Menalus, who shared with him the words that Jesus had spoken at Silo. "Never have I heard," Menalus said, "anything that compares to the teachings of Jesus." One of the rebellious Jews, who are so numerous in Jerusalem, asked him if it was lawful to give tribute to Caesar. Jesus replied, "Render unto Caesar the things which belong to Caesar, and unto God the things that are God's." Pilate, reflecting on this, added, "It was because of the wisdom of this saying that I allowed Jesus much freedom. It was within my power to have him arrested and exiled to Pontius, but that would have been contrary to the justice which has always defined the Romans. Jesus was neither seditious nor rebellious. I extended my protection to him, and unbeknownst to him, he was at liberty to act, speak, assemble, and address the people. He was free to choose his disciples, all without being hindered by any praetorian mandate." However, Pilate continued, this freedom granted to Jesus provoked the Jews, but not the poor. It was the rich and powerful who were angered. Indeed, Jesus was harsh with them. In my view, this was a political act, not just a religious one. He would call the scribes and Pharisees a race of vipers and mock their hollow piety, comparing them to painted sepulchres. At times, he would scorn the publican's pride, declaring that the mite of the poor widow was more precious in the sight of God. Day by day, Pilate reflected, new complaints were brought to the praetorium about the insolence of Jesus. I was even warned that something unfortunate would happen to him, that it would not be the first time that Jerusalem had stoned those who called themselves prophets. I was told that if the praetorium refused to act, an appeal would be made to Caesar. Despite these pressures, Pilate noted, my conduct was approved by the Senate, and I was promised a reinforcement after the termination of the Parthian War. But in the meantime, being too weak to suppress the sedition on my own, I resolved to take a measure that would restore tranquility to the city without humiliating the praetorium. This indicates that Pilate hesitated to crucify Jesus. Instead, He may have handed Jesus over to quash the political unrest and prevent further uprisings. Pilate's actions suggest that he was trying to avoid further chaos in Jerusalem, understanding the fragile state of Roman control at the time. Let's now turn our attention to some artifacts linked to Pilate and examine what they reveal about Jesus' crucifixion. One of the most significant artifacts in this regard is the Pilate stone, also known as the Pilate inscription. This ancient artifact was discovered in 1961 near Caesarea Maritima in Israel. It is a dedicatory inscription carved into a limestone block, and it holds immense historical importance. It provides archaeological evidence of the existence of Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea, who is famously mentioned in the New Testament accounts of Jesus' trial and crucifixion. The inscription on the Pilate stone reads, "To the divine Augustus, Tiberium Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea." This stone was found reused in the staircase leading to a theater in Caesarea Maritima. The city was a significant center of Roman administration during Pilate's time. The inscription was identified by archaeologists due to the Latin writing on the limestone block, confirming Pilate's role in Judea and his connection to the region during the time of Jesus' trial. In examining the Pilate stone, we are reminded of the historical reality of Pilate's existence and his involvement in the events that led to Jesus' crucifixion. It provides tangible evidence that links the biblical narrative to actual historical events. Conclusion: if you've made it this far, thank you for staying with us. We've explored both the personal perspective of Pilate and significant archaeological discoveries related to his time. What do you think about Pilate's actions? Do you think his decision to allow Jesus' crucifixion was inevitable, or was there room for a different outcome? Stay tuned and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, take care and stay thoughtful.
Do you love meaningful Bible stories? Top 7 Bible Stories channel will bring you inspiration and peace every day. Don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments section. Your sharing is the motivation for us to bring more stories. Top 7 Bible Stories. Good stories, beautiful meanings.